Good day, everyone, and welcome to the webinar for the 2025 Macy Faculty Scholars Program. I am Peter Goodwin, Chief Operating Officer and Treasurer at the Josiah Macy Jr. Foundation. The purpose of this webinar is to provide you an opportunity to learn more about the Macy Faculty Scholars Program. Today, we will share with you the vision, highlights, and information about the program, as well as the application and selection process. Our agenda today is two parts. The first part is a presentation, which includes a brief overview of the program from our president, Dr. Holly Humphrey, as well as remarks from Dr. Jessica DeVito and Dr. Lanre Falusi, two members of the Macy Faculty Scholars family who will share a bit about their experience as scholars. The second part, and the remainder of the time, will be devoted to questions and answers. Thank you to all those who submitted questions in advance. We have tried to incorporate responses to many of these questions into the presentation, and we welcome any additional questions that may come up as you hear from our speakers today. At the end of the Q&A, we will spend our last minutes on some details you will need to know in order to submit your online application. Today's webinar is being recorded. You will be able to view the slides and listen to the presentation and the Q&A portion of the webinar on our website within the next week. For any questions you have during today's presentation, please use the Q&A function on your Zoom screen. We will answer as many questions as we can at the end of the prepared remarks. And now I would like to introduce our first presenter, Dr. Holly Humphrey, President of the Josiah Macy Jr. Foundation. Holly?
Thank you, Peter, and welcome to all of you who are joining us for today's webinar session. We're really excited. Every year when we launch this program, it adds energy to all of us because we're excited to hear from you and answer your questions today. So as many of you already know, we have been in a period of transition with our program to a new focus for the Macy Faculty Scholars Program that I'm going to describe. But it's the core vision of the program that remains as it has always been and consistent with the vision that the program had when it was created, and that is to recognize, develop, and nurture the careers of promising future leaders in nursing and medicine. And as was true at the outset of this program, we seek to make an impact on the lives of future leaders in medical and nursing education by providing them with protected time, multiple levels of formal mentoring, and a national network of like-minded colleagues. Our hope is that by providing these resources, the scholars will create meaningful changes in health professions education at their institutions and then ultimately nationally. The scholars have become a part of a national cohort of leaders in education, in medicine and nursing, and that all began with innovations that they proposed through this program and that they developed and implemented at their local institutions. Now, one important note that I wish to highlight is that this program is a career development award. And that means that we are just as interested in the individual, the person, as we are in the proposed project. So we are specifically interested in candidates for whom the program will have a maximum impact at this particular point in their career, and individuals who have the greatest possibility for future success. So let me say a word about this vision. We are excited about the next generation of Macy Faculty Scholars, which actually began with the 2023 cohort. You are going to hear from one member of this cohort, Lanre Falusi, in just a few minutes. And if you'd like to hear from even more members of the 2023 cohort of scholars, you can do so by listening to our Vital Voices podcast. Season 3 features my interviews with all 6 members of the 2023 cohort. Listening to these interviews may give you a better sense of what we are looking for in terms of the experience and the scholarship of those who we have ultimately selected as our scholars. Now, we have a special interest in candidates who are relatively early in their careers and for whom this career development program will have the greatest impact. The network and resources that this program offers are designed to try to help that individual develop the kind of skills and access to a network that will help them further their career. We're also interested in candidates who represent the breadth of diversity in medicine and nursing and the patients and populations who we serve in building new relationships with institutions that have not historically submitted candidates to the Macy Faculty Scholars Program. Now, I want to say just a few words about the highlights of this program, which you see outlined here on this slide, and that is that the Career Development Award does provide salary support for 50% of the scholar's time to pursue a mentored project at your local institution. Scholars are formally paired with a mentor from the National Advisory Committee, as well as a peer mentor from our alumni group of scholars. That's in part what we are referring to when we say you're introduced to this national network of scholars. But you have an assignment to a specific mentor within that group. Most of our first-year scholars also choose to enroll in the Harvard Macy Institute's program for educators in health professions, and we pay the tuition for that course for you to take it. Now, sometimes we have applicants and ultimately scholars who are selected who've already taken that course. Sometimes they take it a second time, but it's also the case that you are welcome to choose another one of the offerings through the Harvard Macy Institute that we cover the tuition costs for. So we will cover the tuition for one HMI course, but very often our scholars will choose to use their additional professional development funds to attend additional HMI courses. So that's not a requirement to attend additional courses, but very often we note that scholars choose to do that. All scholars, whether they are in the 2-year award period or members of our alumni scholars, are invited each year to attend the annual Macy Faculty Scholars meeting. And as our program grows, that annual meeting also grows and provides you a regular opportunity to engage with this national network. And so that national network is something I've mentioned several times and turns out to be available to you all the time, but we will formally gather once a year at the annual meeting. So let me introduce you to 2 of our scholars who you're going to have a chance to hear from today. Dr. Jessica DeVito and Dr. Lanre Falusi. They are 2 of the scholar alumni. Jessica and Lanre are going to share just a little bit about their time as a scholar and how the experience has affected their career and their life overall. So with that introduction, Jessica, let's start with you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Holly and Peter. It's truly an honor and a privilege to be here today to share my experiences and the professionally transformative opportunities that I've had through the Josiah Macy Jr. Faculty Scholars Program. The work that I have completed through my time as a Macy Faculty Scholar is truly my life's work. I thought I might only be able to dream about, but was made a reality due to the opportunities I was bestowed as a Macy Faculty Scholar. I was given a once-in-a-lifetime professional opportunity to develop an innovative educational intervention that Holly had mentioned earlier. Because of the overwhelming support from the foundation, my university, and my mentors that I received, I've gained not only perspective and exposure to new ideas, but also refined my core values, my teaching philosophy, all which has influenced me personally and professionally, as well as the learning environment for my students. To start, I want to first talk about the opportunity for creating educational change that Macy has provided. My work has focused on safe motherhood that all women so rightly deserve. And specifically, when we focus in on nurses who are caring for those in the childbearing years, we must ensure that they are intentionally prepared to address racial and social inequities at the point of care and in the community. And the training, the supports, the opportunities I've had through the Macy Foundation have prepared me to be able to address those endeavors and be able to focus on those elements for my students. When we think about nursing education, we see that pre-licensure nursing education related specifically to maternal child health is often delivered in an accelerated format with concentration on acute care as their clinical component. Through the support and my time that I've had at the Macy Foundation and those opportunities, I was provided opportunity to really thoroughly develop my proposal to make some changes to this nursing education. What I had suggested and what was supported was developing a maternal child health equity fellowship. And so this was really a way that I was able to focus on helping my students to collaborate in the context of maternal child health, as well as be able to focus additional work in the area of maternal child health disparities. And so this really delves deeper into maternal child health care to better understand determinants of health that disadvantage birth outcomes in American communities. I now want to address mentorship. Never in my journey as a previous student, a practitioner, or an academic have I received the mentorship that I have in my time as a Macy faculty scholar. The Macy Foundation has so intentionally and holistically weaved a tapestry of support through every level of the fellowship. From the moment that you enter the Macy program, you know that you've entered a family atmosphere that is invested in every aspect of your personal and professional success. Much like Holly had mentioned earlier, it's as much about investing in you as a professional and an individual as it is in the work that you are proposing to accomplish. And they make it abundantly clear that our mentors, our peers, all those that have been enlisted to support us are really there supporting with their time and their expertise without ceasing. Finally, I just want to mention the benefits of being part of this national network of like-minded colleagues in both nursing and medicine. These opportunities have been invaluable by fostering collaboration, sharing of knowledge, and support that enhances patient care and professional growth. This network has not only provided a platform of learning, but also it's created a space and a sense of belonging and solidarity within the healthcare community with the like-mindedness of our colleagues. Due to the unwavering support of the Macy Foundation, my mentors, and my Macy peers, I feel that I am on a solid trajectory to advance my career as evidenced by the accomplishments that I've had over my past 3 years since becoming a Macy Faculty Scholar. And I know that truly this is because of my experience and my opportunities that I've had. It's my hope that my students that I am serving and encountering, that due to this opportunity will ultimately have training and support that really reflects back on all of the pillars of focus that Macy has created, and that we see the support that I provide will really support our students to be able to focus on racial and social inequities that women of color face, and that they can vigorously address those inequities via education, advocacy, role modeling, and policy change. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess. Wanray?
There we go. Thank you so much, Holly, and thanks so much, Peter. And thank you all for joining today. It truly is an honor to share my experiences of the Macy Faculty Scholars Program. I would actually just echo everything that Jessica just said. I've had similarly a really phenomenal experience. I started in the program just a little under a year ago, and I applied and was thrilled to be selected, as I saw it as a really unique opportunity to both learn and to contribute to health professions education. I'm a pediatrician. I'm in general academic pediatrics. So teaching and developing curricula has really been part of my DNA for the last several years. And this was really a great way for me, I felt, to kind of take that next step, to become a better teacher, a better curriculum developer, to think about how we assess our curricula, and to kind of branch out beyond the world that I currently live in general academic pediatrics. But I'll say that what I've learned is that this is not just a program, it really is a family. And I want to underscore what Holly said about this being a career development award. It's definitely beyond the funding for a project or funding for your time, although that is a crucial piece of it. What I think makes it really unique is this community that we have built. I'll say a little bit about my cohort. There are 6 of us in my cohort, and we give each other advice. We give feedback on our projects. We share life updates. It's been really amazing to do that also with folks who are in nursing, someone who's an internal medicine physician, a family medicine physician, and really kind of, again, branching out of the typical world that I live in, and finding kinfolk, if you would, outside of that world and within this community. I'll also mention our National Advisory Committee of Experts that Holly discussed. These are true legends in health professions education, and yet are so accessible. I meet with my mentor once a month, and I not only hear about her incredible decades of teaching and being such a global leader, I get advice from her on how to take my project to the next level. And she is a visionary, and sometimes even beyond the vision that I see for myself and for my project, she's really able to usher some of these ideas to the forefront. Holly also mentioned that we each are assigned a peer mentor who is an alumni scholar. I have the privilege of being connected to a mentor who also gives great advice and is so smart, and has also been very accessible in thinking through my current project, and beyond that, what the next steps would be for me once the 2 years of the program ends. The structured learning, I'll say, is also a really great opportunity. Holly mentioned the Harvard School of Medicine and their Harvard Macy Institute courses. I just completed the 9-month program for educators. I would definitely say that after this course, I am a better teacher. I understand the theory around curricula even better, and thinking about how to partner outside of my specialty, how to present the work in a way that is accessible not only to other educators, but to those outside of healthcare has been really phenomenal. The time and the funding for the project that I'm working on has been such an incredible opportunity. I'm working on a project that I have talked about with colleagues, that we've thought about for years, but just didn't really have the infrastructure or the time to make it happen. And I'm so grateful to the Macy Foundation for this opportunity. My project brings together community engagement and medical education. I am one of the associate program directors in our pediatric residency program, and I do a lot of work within advocacy. And we have developed many curricula around social drivers, social determinants of health. And I wanted to take this time to really think about how we are assessing our learners in that space. And very importantly, to develop a way that our patients, or really their parents, in my case as a pediatrician, can give us feedback into our curricula and give us some feedback into how the conversations with the resident went around social drivers of health. So my goal is to do something that is not very commonly done in academics, which is to really share power with our patients, parents, community members, family members who have such incredible expertise, but are rarely incorporated into the development and evaluation of curricula. So being able to do focus groups and interviews and doing something new and taking risks and learning new things, like how to really best create assessment tools, has been something that's been exciting, that I would not have been able to do outside of this program. So I'll just end with underscoring again that this program really focuses on our personal and professional development. We really are aiming to make an impact within our local institutions with our projects, and then taking that next step of hopefully having even national impact. Hopefully this assessment tool that I'm working on with my team is something that will be nationally available, for example. But even, more than that, it's given me the time to prioritize and think about what's important to me as a faculty member, as a pediatrician, and as a whole person. And for that, I am so grateful for this experience, and really excited for you all as you start thinking about how you see yourself within the Macy Faculty Scholars family. Thank you.
Well, Andre and Jess, thank you so much. I love listening to your individual stories about your projects and about your pathway. Let me say a few words about the eligibility criteria. As you can see on the screen in front of you, that the first item is that you need to be a faculty member at a school of medicine or nursing. We are saying that you should be an early career benefits eligible faculty member. I know there are already a few questions in the Q&A about what is the definition of early career. And, just to give you a broad guideline, think of it as approximately 3 to 8 years on the faculty, but that is not a hard and fast rule, only a guideline. And I just invite you to think about if you've been a faculty member for less than 3 years, you're just probably not going to have the depth and breadth in your application that will stand up competitively against a national pool. So that's why, we come up with at least 3 years, but as I said, not a hard and fast requirement. And then the 8 years is also not a hard and fast requirement. We know that people have various off ramps and on ramps and different life circumstances that come up. And so that's exactly why we do not have a hard and fast rule. But at the same time, please don't consider yourself a competitive applicant if you are nearing retirement at the end of your career. So I've tried to outline the extremes for what we're not interested in, and tried to emphasize that we're looking for that early career, but that's not necessarily defined by academic rank or even by number of years on the faculty. So I hope that's somewhat helpful to you as you think about this. You do need to be nominated by the dean of your respective school. So either the dean of the School of Nursing or the dean of the School of Medicine, and only one nominee per school. However, if you're at a university that has both a nursing school and a medical school, then that university can nominate 2 candidates, one from each of their schools. It's also the case if you are at a nursing or a medical school that currently has a Macy Faculty Scholar in the first year of our program, you are precluded as a school from nominating a candidate in the next round. You're not precluded forever, but just for the next round, we ask you to sit out that round and then join again 2 years later. Now, you must have identified a local individual who will serve as your mentor. Most usually that's a senior faculty member, and that person will provide advice and local gravitas to help you implement your project, as well as oversee and guide your career development. With respect to the project, we are particularly interested in projects that take place in the clinical learning environment, with patients where things are really happening. Ideally, your project will touch on at least one of our priority areas. We also look to see a demonstration of institutional support for the project. Our 3 priority areas are promoting equity, diversity, and belonging, increasing collaboration among future health professionals. So that's the interprofessional work that I know many of you do. And then the 3rd priority area is to prepare future health professionals to navigate the ethical dilemmas that regularly occur in the clinical learning environment. Your project does not have to address all of those priority areas, but as I said, I think it's an advantage if you can touch on one of those priority areas. But every now and then we see projects that do not touch on one of those areas. You do need to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident to be eligible for the program. Now, let me turn to just some general guidance on what makes a competitive application and share with you first of all, what that application consists of. And you see that listed on the screen in front of you. A statement of your career objectives and personal goals, a description of your project, a nominating letter from the dean, and then supporting letters, 3 supporting letters, as you see outlined, 1 from your mentor, 1 from your department chair, and 1 other senior faculty member. Those, again, are the supporting letters, not the nominating letter, which is coming from the dean. It is important in the supporting letter, specifically from your department chair, that they indicate they will protect your time in the way that we're paying for your time. We're looking for that department chair to say that they're going to make sure you get the time that we're paying for so you can do the project. And then we're looking for a bio sketch, not only of yours as the applicant, but also from your mentor. So let me say a word about what makes that application competitive. The first thing is that we're really looking to see any evidence that your learners see you as an effective educator. And very often that is conveyed in part by the position you might occupy as a teacher or in some leadership role that is influencing learners in your local environment. We're looking for your ability to turn your daily work into scholarship that has been disseminated. And what we mean by that is you will have a track record of evidence of putting your daily work into a scholarly format that has been disseminated to programs beyond your own. Sometimes that occurs through publications, presentations, submissions to national meetings, that type of thing. We're looking at the merit of the proposed project and the likelihood that it will influence national trends in health professions education. We're looking at the strength of your mentor. We're looking for institutional support, as I've already commented on, and we're looking for your future potential as a national leader in health professions education. Okay, so now let me say a word about the selection process itself. The first step is that the senior staff at the Macy Foundation will review all completed applications, and we will make the first cut to select the semifinalists for this program. So every single application does get reviewed by us. There is no application submitted that does not get personally reviewed. The second step is once we have identified the semifinalists, we send the semifinalists to our National Advisory Committee. And it is the National Advisory Committee who will make the selection of our finalists. Then those finalists are invited to interview with us, meaning with the National Advisory Committee and senior Macy Foundation staff members. Those interviews occur using a virtual interview format. We will make our decision by the end of February of 2025 for appointments that will begin next July 1st of 2025. So I want to make sure you have some key dates on your calendars to keep in mind. One is very important, the application deadline of September 15th, 2024. You will be notified of your application status in January of 2025. I already mentioned the finalist interviews in February of 2025, and then final notification by the end of that month of February. There will be a kickoff and annual meeting on the dates you see listed, March 31st to April 3rd. This is a shift for us. We have tended to have the kickoff meeting and annual meeting in June since the beginning of this program. So next year, we're moving it a little earlier, in large part because of the many ways in which all of our calendars get very full in the months of May and June with end of the year and then beginning of the new year activities in those months. And as I already mentioned, the appointment will begin on July 1st of 2025. So we are now ready to hear from you, and I'd like to turn it back to Peter Goodwin, who will be managing our question and answer format. So Peter?
Thank you, Holly. We'll now move to the Q&A portion of the webinar. Please enter any questions you have about the Macy Faculty Scholars Program in the Q&A function on your screen. We will try to answer as many as possible. I'd also like to invite Dr. DeVito and Dr. Falusi to turn your cameras on to participate in the Q&A session of this webinar. Thank you. So we have a number of questions that have been presented. Several of them are being answered by our staff directly to you who have posed them. Others we have that we will share more broadly. The first question is, would a faculty from a teaching hospital be eligible for the program?
Yes, absolutely. If you have a faculty appointment at a teaching hospital affiliate and you are nominated by the dean of your respective school, either of nursing or of medicine, you are absolutely eligible.
The next question has to do with protected time from someone who serves as a residency director in particular. Can you clarify if the time needs to be half of an FTE? They are trying to figure out how to make it work. And I think what they're trying to get at, does it have to be 50% protected time?
As a former program director, I resonate with that question because on the one hand, you really do need protected time to carry out your duties as a program director. From the standpoint of the Macy Foundation, we are going to pay for up to half of your time to carry out the project. And I am well aware that there can be enormous synergy between the two roles. So from my standpoint, you are absolutely eligible. And I think there are many ways in which the Macy Foundation support for you to carry out your innovation within your residency program and the time that's allocated to your role as a program director make you an eligible candidate.
Thank you. This next question has to do with the local mentor, the institutional mentor for the applicant. Does the faculty mentor need to be from within our institution, or can it be at a different institution?
Yeah, great question. It's not uncommon for us to see applications with a mentor who's not at your local institution, and that's usually based on the expertise of the individual involved. So your project may demand a certain expertise that just may not be available at your local institution, and it's completely okay for you to have a local mentor outside of your institution. However, I would just caution you that if we see that kind of an application, we're always looking to be sure that the local institution wishes to have that innovation implemented at your local institution. And so sometimes that's conveyed to us in the letter from your nominating dean and the letter from your department chair that convince our committee that yes, your institution is supporting you to do this innovation in the local institution, and that they themselves readily embrace the mentorship of an expert who may not be within the institution. So that would just be the one caution, and to make sure that those other letter writers are able to convey that in an authentic way.
This next question is addressed at the project itself and the scope of the project. What is the ideal scope of a proposed project? Should it be at the institutional level? Should it be at the regional level? Or should it be at the national level?
Oh boy, that is a very important question. I would keep in mind a few things. So we don't have any hard and fast rules about the answer to your question. However, I would say that you should keep in mind this is a 2-year period. A 2-year period goes very quickly. And unless you have already been working in the field and you have a consortium of other schools regionally or nationally, it might be very difficult to carry out a regional or a national project in a 2-year time frame, unless, as I said, you already have those coalitions and collaborations up and running. So we don't have rules around that, but what I do think comes up every time we at the Macy Foundation and our National Advisory Committee are reviewing the applications is we're asking ourselves, is this a doable project in the 2-year time frame? And we are also dreaming in the same way that you might be dreaming, what comes next? What would come next after this project? And it's probably most often the case that things start out locally with the idea that they can be disseminated regionally or nationally. But again, that isn't always going to be the case. And sometimes for those of you who may have already been working in the space, you're ready to go regional or national right out of the gates. It might be worth hearing from Jessica or Lonray on this question. Let me just ask either one of you, did you modify your project after you were selected based on advice you may have gotten from your mentor? And did you keep your project local, or was it more regional or national? Would either of you like to comment on that?
I'll go ahead and start. I think, I liken the initial ideas of the project much to like a dissertation where you have this general overall idea that you are entering into the program with, but because of your interactions with all of your peers, your mentors that are assigned to you, also doing any of the work through the Harvard courses, there's going to be refinements of those ideas. So for me, the overall project remained the same, but some of the implementation pieces became more refined by having this, kind of network of support, providing feedback and insight and expertise on how the implementation might look. Also for me, I started at the local level within my institution with the idea that once it was successful there, that there was probability and intention to broaden it out to the regional level and then national level based on a lot of the networking that I had already initiated prior to the Macy work, but also continue to grow through the relationships I was building in the Macy program.
Thank you, Jess. Lonray, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say that being able to join the annual meeting last year before we even officially started was really phenomenal. And we had a session where those of us incoming scholars were able to get feedback from some of the alumni and other faculty experts. So I think that did help me to refine my project. There were times where I was like, I think I'm going to completely change my project, and I'd kind of come back to it. And it was just a really great time to brainstorm ways to connect it more to educational theory, or to really think about some of the potential bumps in implementation and to plan ahead for those. I feel like that was really helpful. I had planned to implement it locally and am doing that currently, but also just in talking with my National Advisory Council mentor and my peer mentor, who are actually on opposite coasts. They have helped me to think through how to make it relevant to my local institution, but still potentially generalizable when I get to that point. So I think that in talking to my cohort, I feel like that's where a lot of us are, where we are implementing more on the micro level, but have in mind the goal to disseminate more regionally or nationally eventually.
Yeah, good. That's terrific. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Let's keep the spotlight on Jessica and Lonray. This next question is directed to the two of you specifically, and it's about local institutional support. Could you talk about how you ensured that your local institution was able to support your project during your time as a scholar, after your time ended as a scholar, and have you been able to sustain protected time after completion of the fellowship?
I think I can answer the first part of the question, but since I'm still in the project, I'd love to hear from Jessica what her experience has been afterwards, but or coming ahead soon. I would say that I was able to ensure that my institution gave me the protected time, partly just starting with the application process, ensuring that those who are writing my letters really understood what it was that they were supporting. I have a few different roles in the institution, and when I was selected, I had a meeting very early on to say, here are some reminder of how the program is laid out, and here are the expectations. And we talked through other faculty members who were able to take on the roles that I have, so that they could have for themselves a growth opportunity, while I then was able to really ensure that I had that protected time. So I think those conversations and kind of self-advocacy really did help, and being able to say, I'm working on this project, and we have a number of other wonderful faculty who can take on these additional opportunities, and to be able to do it that way. I would not say that I got any pushback. I think people have been genuinely excited that I'm part of the program, and it really is a great thing for the institution to be able to partner with the Macy Foundation around this. So hopefully that would be your experience as well. And I would just encourage, again, kind of those early conversations to make sure that everyone's on the same page.
Yes, I couldn't I couldn't agree more with Lonray's sentiments. 100% agree. And just from a personal perspective, like when you enter into a fellowship like this Macy Fellowship, or in a time period in your career where you do have, protected time and space to focus on projects and your productivity, would just encourage you to like think about making some, roadmaps for yourself to think like, when opportunities come up, what am I going to say yes to? And what am I going to have to say, well, maybe not right now. Let's put that on hold for, a future opportunity. You really want to make sure that anything you're saying yes to at the time of your funded period, your protected time, is really going to support your overall trajectories of where you're planning to go. Otherwise, as Holly mentioned, 2 years goes very quickly. So you don't want to take on too much and be distracted and not be able to accomplish your ultimate goals. And then thinking about in terms of what comes next. So for me, my institution was, fully invested in, my opportunities to become a Macy Scholar and where that would go next. I have to say, I'm very blessed that I've had such support, great support at the institution that I'm at, to be able to continue this work. So, it took 1 year for me to build out my educational program, my intervention, and then my second year of my time with Macy, I deployed that educational endeavor. And so now I'm, more than 2 years out. I completed another rendition, another cohort of fellows went through my program, and we just accepted students for the third cohort. So, 2 cohorts beyond what would have been part of my time with the Macy Scholars Program have been supported by my institution to the extent that they helped me to find funding to be able to fund that project, and didn't have, the same type of buyout that I did with being part of the Macy Faculty Scholars Program, but I do get credit for the classes that I'm teaching that are a part of my fellowship. So still support in that regard, not being above and beyond what I'm already expected to do as an educator and a scholar.
Thank you, Lonray and Jessica. We're going to keep you in the spotlight for one more question. And this one asks you to think back to when you were first selected as a scholar. What are some of the things you wish you had known as you transitioned into being a scholar?
I think, for me, I felt incredibly blessed and like honored to have been selected. That there, much like in other times of my life, I had some imposter syndrome, thinking like, of all the people that applied, like, how am I at the level to be, with these esteemed peers and colleagues, and am I going to be able to live up to those expectations? And I think, we just have to go back to some of the sentiments that Holly shared with us, that, you're being selected not only because of the project and what your project will look like and become, but because of what the foundation has seen in us as individuals and the possibility for us to grow and develop and really, make some major changes in medical and nursing education. So, kind of being a little bit more open to the idea that, I'm not going to know everything entering into this fellowship. That is the reason why it exists, to provide that support, to provide that opportunity. It's not going to fail because you have so many layers and levels of support that are helping to usher you through. It may not look exactly the way you had thought it would, but oftentimes it ends up looking better in the end and what it needed to be. So I think just being a little bit more open to that process of, being more comfortable and enjoying, having all of this support and mentoring. That would be my best advice.
So it's interesting. My thought was really similar, just around wishing I'd known how much of it really truly is a professional development opportunity. And many of you have probably had grants for projects, that sort of thing, and going into it with that mindset, I think, is it's so much more than that. So I wish that I had been, and I think I am now, much more open to that process of really self-examination of, who am I in this world of medical education? What are my priorities? What can I contribute? Where are my gaps? And where can I learn to grow in those areas? I think that really hit me, I would say, at the annual meeting last June, and then even more so as we started the Harvard Macy Institute professional program for health professions educators, and how so much of it was focused on, what are your goals as an educator? What habits have you formed that may be helpful? What habits are now barriers to reaching those goals? And I just remember sitting in some of those and thinking, oh, this is what it is that we are really here to learn, not just, Kern's 6 steps or other specific theories around medical education, but that, and how do you transform as a person in that process? So, and also I am really grateful, I know we said this earlier, just around the mentorship and recognizing again that it's beyond probably your traditional, assigned mentorship opportunities that people may have had in the past, that these are folks who, as far as the alumni go, have been through the program before and are often still in their, transformation around their journeys. So it truly is peer learning. And then meeting these incredible experts who have decades of experience, outside of my field, outside of my region, and learning from them, I think, has been really just phenomenal. So being ready for that, I think, ready for that sort of personal growth is something that I would, strongly encourage and have all of us really start thinking about if you're considering applying.
Thank you again, Lonray and Jess. Holly, we'll turn this one to you. It's a 2-part question. One is, it has to do with resubmissions. The program has been in existence for more than 10 years now. For those who are reapplying to the program, how are resubmissions generally viewed? And then within that, what is the best way to highlight updates and project progress in the application if they choose to resubmit?
Great question. Thank you for asking it, because it turns out that a significant number of our scholars and scholar alumni have applied to this program more than once, and in a few cases, multiple times. And so I would strongly encourage you, if you've applied before, to not be discouraged, but to absolutely consider applying again. This is probably more akin to an NIH kind of award than it is to other steps that you may have taken in your education, where you very often apply again and again and again. And before you know it, your moment arrives. So yes, we invite reapplications, and believe it or not, very often it turns out to be successful. Secondly, how do you highlight updates on a reapplication? I guess I would encourage you to not necessarily think of it so much as highlighting an update, is to think of it more as a new application. Very often it will be an update to your original project, and of course it's an update on you, but think of it as a fresh application. And the reason that I'm saying that is that, over time, while we at the Macy Foundation track applications and reapplications, we will know that data, but we're not going to remember you or your project nearly as well as you know you and your project. So think of it as a new application, and we will all have different memories of, that initial application or even a second application. So just think of it as a clean slate and an opportunity to be the candidate that in this year's pool will be selected.
Thank you, Holly. We are approaching the top of the hour, so we have time for only one more question before we go to the wrap-up portion of today's webinar. Holly, can you provide the characteristics of a strong mentor?
Well, I think the most important characteristic is that the strong mentor is deeply invested in you. And that is in you as a person, as well as in your career development. And in the career development, there will be a project embedded within that. So the senior local mentor will be very invested in your ultimate success, but also in the success of your project. And sometimes that means, in fact, very often it means that that mentor will be someone who introduces you to others who have expertise in areas that they do not have. It'll be someone who understands kind of the political landscape that you're working in and will help you navigate the political landscape. It will be someone who has your back when you're up against something in your project that seems as if it's a rate limiting step or the project is stalled and not moving forward. So those are some of the characteristics of, I think, the local presence of a mentor that can make a huge difference in your career and in your project. But also don't be afraid to go outside that institution specifically for expertise or for sponsorship and introductions to an even bigger and broader network. And a good local mentor, a good senior mentor will know that that's important for you as well.
Thank you, Holly, and thank you, Dr. DeVito and Dr. Faluse as well. We'll now turn to the wrap-up portion of today's webinar before we close. Some housekeeping comments here. We are utilizing an online application for this program. To access the online application, you must first go to our website, click on Macy Faculty Scholars in the navigation bar, and go to the Apply page. For your convenience, the Scholars URL is displayed on this slide. From there, click on the Apply Now button to be directed to the online application platform. In order to apply, you'll need to register for an account on the online application platform. You will also need to get the tax ID for your school as part of the registration process. Once you've registered and logged in, you may save and return to your application as often as you like prior to submitting it. If you have any questions during the application process, you may email us at info@macyfoundation.org. But before you email us, we encourage you to visit the Macy Faculty Scholars Program website, which has a number of useful resources, including our frequently asked questions. We will continue to update the frequently asked questions throughout the open application period. And finally, as a reminder, by next week, a recording of this session, both the audio portion and the slides, will be available on the Foundation's website. I'll turn it back to Holly for closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Peter. And I want to extend a special thanks to our entire Macy Foundation staff who have been working in the background to make this possible, Caroline Pounds and Peter Goodwin in particular. But I especially want to thank Jessica and Lonray, who joined me today representing our Scholars Program. We hope that you will keep in touch with the Macy Foundation for more information about our grants programs and initiatives, as well as our podcasts, webinars, and blogs, and of course about our signature program, the Macy Faculty Scholars Program. Thank you again for joining us today, and we hope to receive applications from many of you this September. Thanks. Bye-bye.